I will read Shokshu number 10, the principle of non-dissension. There is no conflict in the absolute universe. Conflict arises only in the relative world. If we are to lead others, we must unify mind and body and practice the principles of the universe. Do not say that this is a world of survival of the fittest, where the stronger prey upon the weaker. The true way of peace is exactly the same as the principle of non-dissension. Well, so I said, how nice to see everyone. Everyone be together here. So, everybody's different. Everybody has their own way. Everybody looks for different things. And as much as possible, we try to address those different things. But I'm sure that it's maybe begun to dawn on you and that there's something behind whatever you feel is happening to you, whatever thoughts you have, whatever feelings you have, whatever concerns you have, whatever you're wishing for, or whatever you're afraid of, there's a reason for that. And it's like a bubble. And when you pop it, it's actually just air. In fact, all of these so important, significant differences that we have, that each of us cling to and are fond of, let's say, as we go deeper and deeper behind those, we become more and more alike. We say, not just, so you're female, I'm male. Okay, get rid of that. You're Caucasian, I'm Japanese. Get rid of that. You're tall, I'm short. Get rid of that. I'm fat, you're skinny. Get rid of that. I'm educated, you're not educated. Get rid of that. In other words, we go down to every one of these things and ultimately find out that they're not it. And when we begin to peel away these onion pieces, we get to the middle, and you know what's in the middle of an onion? Nothing. There's no center. There's nothing there. And that's us, folks. So it's empty of all of those qualities. And all of those qualities are the things that make us different. Those are the things that disturb me about you and you about me. They're also the things that attract you to me and me to you. The differences. But because underneath, way, 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 way underneath all of this stuff is zero or empty full. And that's the one thing that we are all the same as each other. That's the source of our true beings. That is our true self. That is our true love. It's not a substance. It's not a thing. It's not a difference. You don't love differently than I love. Love is love. And that's what Toi Sensei is talking about with the spirit of non-dissension. It's seeing through all of that. Difference. It's not just sameness, because sameness means you're comparing two things and they're the same. No, this is zero, nothing, empty. Let's do some key breathing. Please close your eyes. Last Friday night, I talked about key testing from the perspective of the formal tests, Shokyu, Chukyu, Jokyu, Shoden, Chuden, Joden, Okuden. And from the perspective of the test, the examinee and the examiner, and both of their respective rules and regulations, how to. You know, but tonight I like to approach it a little differently, which is probably why I talked about in the introduction what I did. But when you shake someone's hand, so we can't practice this right now together, but you can do with your friend later. Do you know, Shinichi Sensei likes to start every seminar with shaking hand. Why? Why is it so important to him? Well, because when we reach for another, when we reach for another, we're reaching all the way to emptiness, okay? To infinity. Because that's ultimately what we're looking for with each other. When we embrace, when we even bow, when we hold each other or shake each other's hand. So whenever we're doing Aikido together, it's a key test or it's some technique, holding, being attacked, swinging, moving, dancing, footwork, it's all leaning toward, whenever we're in relationship with another person, we're going toward that empty, infinite center that is no center. So think about this when we're going through our this exercise tonight. You know, you've heard me talk about option A, option B, option C. Toei Sensei, of course, taught me this. He used to say it that there's three responses that we have to any kind of a challenge. He would say challenge. But I would say any kind of relationship, any kind of meeting of any sort, there's basically three ways we can deal with that. And it's not just with a person, but it's maybe with your computer, same thing. Or maybe with, you know, an animal, or maybe with your automobile, or maybe with your surfboard, or maybe with some soccer ball. Whatever it is that you are in relationship with, there are these three options that we have. Number one, we can attempt to manipulate and control whatever this person or object is. And always, to our chagrin, when we attempt this, it's always very frustrating because it's always has a tempting little bit of success and then disaster in the end. Whenever we're trying to take control and run the show and fix whatever's wrong and be the one. So that kind of a reaction, which is always never an appropriate response, but always a reaction to something, ultimately leads to distress, stress, and what we call suffering. In fact, this is basically the source of our suffering. There is another different kind of source to our suffering, and that's option B. And that has to do with belief. This is why any true teacher will tell you, don't believe anything. Find out for yourself. Option B is when we're hoping someone will take care of this problem for us. Maybe it's our teacher, maybe it's our mother, and maybe it's our kids. Outside of the family, maybe it's the government, or maybe it's some divine being. But it's all a belief. It's all an idea that someone is going to come along and save us from having to connect with another human being. I say human being now because we're talking about key testing. And finally, when we recognize that we're reaching through all the differences that we generally celebrate and sometimes complain about, they're reaching through all those differences to the core. That's what we call connecting, true connecting, right? And that's option C. When we connect with another human being, then something else happens between us that could never have happened when we were by ourselves. That's why the whole idea of running off to a monastery and being by yourself only works temporarily at best. You always have to come back to town. Even in the 10 ox herding pictures, the guy ends up back in town again. You're gonna end up having to come back to relationship, because until we recognize that we are of the same element, Toysonse calls it key of the universe. We are of the same. I use the word element. That's not even appropriate, because it's infinity. It's this. It's infinity. That we are that, and that's what we're attracted to in each other. Tamara Sensei used to say, universal mind always recognizes itself. You know, I'll tell you something quickly. Many years ago, I was at a seminar in, I believe it was Portland, Oregon, and Koichi Toi Sensei was teaching. And he was teaching key breathing. And we, during the break, before lunch, we were having a chief instructor meeting with him. So all the chief instructors from the United States were together in this room. And actually, this was way back in the late 80s. I was not a chief instructor, but Suzuki Sensei was, and I was his otomo, so I was there as well. So Toi Sensei was sitting at the end of the table and quiet. You could see something was up. But everybody along, and I was down at the other end of the table. Suzuki Sensei was at the end. I was sitting next to him, and I was watching Toi Sensei because he's the guy, right? So, but everybody else is passing papers around, getting ready for this meeting and talking. And I can see that he's getting upset, more and more upset, that no one is paying attention. He's got this look on his face. And if you know Toei Sensei, when you see this look on his face, uh-oh, we have a problem. So eventually everybody realized, oh, and sat down and was quiet. So he just let it be quiet for a little while. And finally he said, you people don't understand what is the meaning of ki breathing. You think the meaning of ki breathing is what happens when you're breathing out and breathing in. That's not the meaning of breathing. The meaning of breathing is what happens between breathing out and breathing in, and between breathing in and breathing out. That's infinity. That's what you're not understanding, which is why I cannot teach you what I want to teach you about ki breathing. Oh, we were all very, we didn't know what to say. And to me, this was still, this was the 80s. I was practicing a lot of ki breathing in those days, but I still didn't really understand what he meant. And then through the years, as he taught me, he taught more and more and more what he meant by this. And so this is what I'm, getting at. This is option C. It's never that which is obvious. Like, for instance, when we do standing kokyudosa, you're holding the person's hands, and the idea is that you're going to move forward. And the other person is automatically being stable. And if the person doesn't understand at all, he's probably trying to keep you from moving. Even that happens. Maybe once you're mature, you're not stupid enough to do that anymore. You're just standing stably. And so that if the person actually connects with you, then movement might happen. But the obvious thing is the physical, that you're holding the other person's hands, and the other person feels you holding their hands. So what's happening here must have something to do with the hands, right? Because we believe our senses. We believe this body is what's all important. Excuse me, I'm sorry, but my body bothers me. So as a vehicle, yes, it's essential, because when it goes, that's it, at least for this lifetime. But it's not what we're doing. We're reaching through all those differences to touch the core, to become one with the other person. That becoming one, this is the universe. This is the meaning of the universe. This is the meaning of infinity. That's why all of Toei Sensei's exercises are built around the experience, which he calls mind-body unification, of infinity, of no limitation. Whenever he would teach a class on Aikido when he was younger and he'd move, he would have you always hold him in some way. And then he would show you all the different ways that he could move where you weren't holding him. And that was just delightful to him, because he's always trying to get to the point of us understanding that there is no limitation. So here's the ironic thing, and it reminds me of my, my coughing, my vocal cords. As you get older, things break down. As my daughter used to say, Dad, things are breaking in you. as you get older, things don't work as well anymore. Some of you are getting older, you know this. And ultimately, they stop working, right, altogether, and they call that dying. But the nice thing is, the wonderful thing is, as you do get older, those things that aren't rewarding you like they always did, with your fluid motion and your super health and your always physically no pain, all those things, they may be gone. They may be gone, but somehow this core, this infinite emptiness inside begins to take over. And when you're doing something like Aikido, it changes everything about how you do it and how you interact with other people and how you see it, what you see it as. So is getting old like a bad thing? Or is getting old a good thing? Okay. Maybe I'll let somebody else talk a little bit. Christoph Kettle, would you say something, please?
Thank you. Thank you for your words. Maybe you remember one day I shared with you some thoughts. I said that there was something I was enjoying very much about my connection with you was this this absence of varnish, this absence of I said I had this feeling of direct connection, and I was not anymore seeing the American citizen in you. Did you remember when I said that to you?
I should remember this. This is important.
And I said, and I made a comparison with some other people that are traveling with you, and I said, I cannot help seeing these social cultural aspects when I'm interacting with them that very often I don't see with you anymore, or I don't see at all. And I said, for me, this is a very nice experience, and this is a very interesting and appealing thing. So
yes, I do remember, of course.
And another point I was thinking about when I was listening at you this morning is what you're saying is almost political because. And of course, politics are relative world, etc. But somehow, I'm sharing with you some of the things that were crossing my mind. If you think of the United Nations and the values underpinning this organization and this organization aiming at bringing all people on Earth together and having some common ways of being together. I was thinking that there is this element as well in what you're saying, because there are a number of people on the Earth that don't like the idea of the United Nations, and they make great efforts to go against this.
Yeah, okay, so I do remember this. This has more to do with you than with me, of course.
Yes, of course.
Of course, yes. And this is very good news.
Sorry?
sorry, this is very good news that you are seeing this, even if it's only in me, not the political part. What you told me first. Sorry, sometimes it's easy for me to talk, sometimes it's very difficult. Not sure why, just rhythms. Please excuse me. When I'm trying to make myself heard, I'm always afraid I'm not loud enough or clear enough on this Zoomy thing, you know.
No, we hear you very well.
Yeah, thank you. Well, so, you know, Tohei Sensei, that's all he was about. That's all he taught all those years. He just wanted us to experience infinity. That's everything everything was designed around that. Now, of course, you know, that's not always obviously evident. For instance, you might think Oneness Rhythm Taisho is not built around that. You might think that, or you might not, but someone might think that. I've heard that said. But it is, because without true connection, without true mind-body unification, you cannot do this properly. You might do it perfectly, but without experiencing this unification in your mind-body, then it's not. Nothing is. That's the thing, see, nothing. Okay, that's a little absolute. So behind everybody is this, behind the curtain of all your specialness, all our differences, all of our uniqueness, all of the things that we cling to, behind that, you know, is the thing that we're reaching toward always. It's the thing that we recognize in each other. We think it's those nice ears and the shape of your head and that beautiful Roman nose you have. But that's not what makes me like you. I might think that. That's not what makes me feel what I feel. It's not what makes the connection between us. Our noses have nothing to do with this connection. Our ears, our body parts, even if we're male, female, no matter what, those things ultimately don't count. And yet think about all the weight we put on differences. We spend our life loving and celebrating those differences and fearing and hating those differences. But it's missing the point. It's missing the point. The point is not the differences. I'm not saying that we can't appreciate someone's beauty or their culture, for instance, their cultural practices. I'm not saying we can't appreciate and celebrate that together. We can. But only don't forget to notice what's actually happening between you. Yes, we honor each other for all these reasons. And no, we don't hate. But when we're really enjoying each other, don't forget to notice. Don't forget to look behind. And that behind is infinite.
Thank you, Sensei.
Someone else, please.
Hi, Sensei.
Carlos, hello.
Hello. So you know, I guess in our circle. Oh, and by the way, I just have no idea what Christophe is talking about when he says there are people out there that don't like the United Nations. Anyway, so, you know, so in our circle, maybe we think, okay, we have overcome, whatever word you want to use, seeing these physical differences in each other as true differences or as important differences. But when it comes to understanding the world, world views, and these kind of things, it gets a little, in my opinion, it gets a little trickier, it gets a little more hairy, you know, and we can be very critical, at least I can, of, you know, someone with a different worldview than my own. So I thought maybe you might like to comment on that.
Well, like for instance, maybe you're talking about like ISIS. That's a strange worldview.
That's a fine example. Of course, there are more subtle ones all around us, but yes, that's fine.
Oh, there actually are as many of those as there are people on Earth, but there are general ones for sure, like ISIS or other groups. And let's remember that the thing we don't like about ISIS is that they're just like us. They're trying to fix everybody else. That's what they're doing. You know, and we don't like their methods either. But the main thing is we don't like to be fixed. And I can't imagine that Muhammad didn't know that we don't like to be fixed, that that's not a good approach. But humans love it. We all have the disease. We all want to convince others to see the way we see, which again, to me, is this business of being blinded by the surface of something. Not just what we're seeing, but what we're hearing and what we're cognizing when we hear something, a view, what we feel when we're touching. We feel a body, but that's not really what you're feeling. Even a physicist will tell you that you're not feeling the body. So what are you feeling there, see, when you hold someone's hand? What are you hearing when someone is speaking? What are you stirred by when you are thinking about a difference, a different view, a different perspective? We're caught in the difference. We're caught, aren't we? We're caught. We might be adoring it as incredibly beautiful, and we might be terribly disturbed by it. You know, it's like Toi Sensei taught us about plus mind and yin and yang. You know, there's this conflict that's going on. So in the midst of all this, we want to have plus mind. So what is plus mind? Is that just seeing the positive? That's not how he described it. That's what you often hear from teachers, from people in Aikido, is that plus mind means seeing the positive side of things. And yes, at a very basic level, it means that's a good choice to make. If you have the 50-50, take the 50% that's positive, it's gonna happen, or it's a good thing. But plus mind means seeing through everything. He says, then you don't need to get nervous or excited in our daily affairs. Those are two opposite ends of the pole, but they're the same thing. They're being trapped by the difference that we see, hear, taste, smell, touch. And forgetting that that's a screen, that that's a representation, a physical representation, because that's what we require in order to understand. But understand. So yes, celebrate, but understand. It's very difficult. You know, I mean, what we're going through with our particular administrative leaders in this country right now, that can be very challenging. But it's a good opportunity to learn to look. You know, we make jokes, and that helps. Humor helps keep you not feeling too negative and not too hateful, making you feel more positive. But the best is to look through and see. Even Mr. Trump is me. That can be a pretty terrifying thought. So we push that away. We don't want to go there because the difference is so obvious. I mean, I hope it's obvious. It's obvious to me. It's obvious to each of us. But that's not what it's about. It's what we're doing. Yeah, and I don't really mean this. Christoph pointed out that this is really political in some sense, and I'm not interested in politics, and I don't really mean that as a political move or as any kind of a way of seeing or philosophy or something. It's much more important than that. It's much more fundamental. It's how to live with each other. If we don't see that, then it's all fake. See, it's all fake. If we don't see that, then it's all pretend. And granted, that's for most people in the world, it is pretend. It is a narrative that they're living. And so all of us, we do this. But our practice is to notice, to see through, to notice deeper and deeper and deeper. What's behind how we are? Thank you, Carlos.
Thank you, Sensei.
Someone else, please.
Hi, Sensei. Vernon Lu.
Hi, Vernon.
Is sometimes difficult in making judgment when we're trying to achieve that connection, and that is getting away from that judgmental mind to achieve and or not to achieve that state of consciousness, and to our practice is more on have it built into our subconscious mind to be connected. Is that that goal or the seeing through that behind the wall of what our subconscious minds should be looking for or seeing through?
Well, okay, that's an interesting question. You know, Toi Sensei says our subconscious mind, the materials stored in the subconscious mind come from the conscious mind. In other words, we put the materials that are in our subconscious mind. We cannot affect our conscious mind any other way. Our subconscious mind any other way. So whether we're noticing and asking the question and looking in this moment, then that determines the nature of what goes in our subconscious. If I'm rejecting you and allowing your difference, whatever it might be, to make me feel superior or inferior or negative or nervous or worse yet, hateful in any way, then that's what I'm putting in my subconscious mind. So tomorrow, because remember, we're always practicing. At every moment, we're practicing something. So if we're doing that, if we're having that reaction, that's what we're practicing. In other words, that's what we're putting in our subconscious mind is the condition. We are conditioning our mind. The subconscious mind is the conditioned mind. So tomorrow, when I see someone like you again, it'll pop up out of my subconscious mind. But if when I see you and something like that comes up, some difference or some disturbance, and let me emphasize again, Toi Sensei said nervous or excited. So it might be something that I think you're a beautiful person. So in either way, I just notice what is happening. And by noticing, then my practice that I'm putting in my subconscious mind is to be in a state of query, asking, noticing, looking, learning, open, okay? So then next time I see you again, guess what pops up? Interest. Ah, very interesting. I want to know what's going on with this person. So we, in this sense, we condition ourselves. We have the opportunity for the first time in our life when we're really practicing noticing, then we have the opportunity to change the nature of our conditioned mind, of our subconscious mind. So that more and more and more and more through the years, drop by drop by drop, Toi Sensei used to say, like, putting a drop of water in a cup of ink, the tea, drop by drop, it becomes clearer and clearer and clearer. And more open, more open, more open, less judgmental, as you say. So that yes, the subconscious mind at any one time has tremendous influence over the way we perceive things. So we need to notice that. I talk about it like what's behind what is happening, what's underneath that. We need to see what's underneath that. So in that sense, I'm saying we need to notice what's coming up out of our subconscious mind. We need to notice what we have put there that is controlling us and causing us to see things a certain way. So then once we're practicing like this, then every day it becomes better and better and better.
Yeah, it's another way of saying that. Thank you.
Yeah. Always, that's all I know what to do. Okay. We still have 5 minutes.
Sensei?
Yes, Fincher Sterling, excellent.
From Maui. I've got a question. Hopefully I can ask it properly. But, it's a process, what you're talking about. And to pay attention, I'm wondering let's say, if I want to approach peeling away these layers? Is it better? We try to behave properly. We try to behave politically correct. We try to behave right. A lot of us do, not all of us. But is that such a good way of peeling away these layers? Or should I just honestly be the son of the bitch I am and take a good look at?
Okay, so it's not an either or. All right, wait here. Finish it. Both of those are the same thing. Whether you're trying to be a good boy or a bad boy, whether
Well,
you're
yeah.
and trying to be good and do things the way the politically correct wants you to, or whether you're just letting it go and being, this is also, neither of those are practicing, is what I'm saying. Practicing is noticing what is arising in every moment. It is not trying to say the right thing or be the right way. It's just noticing. In the beginning, if you have a subconscious mind that is filled with nonsense, then you're going to be spewing nonsense all the time until you start noticing. And then your subconscious mind will begin to change. But the way it works, in your case, you've been practicing for some time now. So you can trust the universe, which you are the center of. You can trust that. You can just notice, and it'll be okay. In the beginning, when people start training, they don't believe that. The most difficult thing to do is to trust that you're not going to say something stupid, right? So we have all this etiquette to follow. We show you how to be a good boy, how to be a good girl. And you do that for a while until you learn to love it, until you notice, oh, this is just paying attention. This is just not I should care about people, but I actually do care. Actually, the negative feelings that I have about other people, they're from my subconscious mind. They're from me putting nonsense into my subconscious mind. Because if you peel away all that stuff, of course you love. That's what there is. That's what's underneath everything. No, it's not going to be 100% all the time, because it took a long time to get that all built in your subconscious mind. So it's going to take some time for it to get relaxed, for it to get trustworthy, for it to get true. So that's why we practice together. Really, I'm trying to emphasize what we all know and feel all the time, and encourage all of us to pay deep attention to the center of the universe, to infinity, to love, to caring deeply. Not that you should, but that's the way it is. And you already are feeling it. So notice it. Notice it. And then that's our practice. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Sensei.
Thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you Sunday.